Welcome to the London School of English Live. Today, our expert English language trainer, Emma Palmieri, will be talking to you about interesting and confusing facts about British life. She will also share some useful vocabulary and expressions which you can use during your next trip to the UK. And you can ask your questions in the live chat as well, and we will answer them at the end of the live stream. Here with us today, we also have our colleague Faiza Afzal from our sales team. So over to Faiza for a few words about our English language courses.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's live stream. We're very excited to have you with us today. In terms of our courses, we are very happy to be able to support you on your language journey wherever you are. We have reopened for face-to-face immersion courses at our center in London, which is located in Holland Park. And we are also still continuing on with our online training. So if you're not able to travel, but you'd like to study, we have students that are joining us from all over the world for our online group courses. We offer a variety of options in terms of general English, business English, IELTS preparation, legal English, and those courses are delivered in groups as well as one-to-one. So we have many different options for you, and we'll go into some of them in a bit more detail at the end of this. But let us know if you're interested, and you can contact us at clients@londonschool.com at any time.
Great, thank you, Faiza. And now, Emma, it's great to have you here with us. And I know that you've got quite a lot of very interesting things to talk about today. So over to you for the main content.
Thank you very much, Olga, and welcome to everybody to this live stream. Now that we're at the end of, well, hopefully near the end of this difficult period, you may be thinking about traveling to London. The prospect of visiting a city is always exciting, but it can also be a little nerve-wracking if you're not sure exactly what to expect. So in this talk today, I'll be telling you about some interesting and potentially confusing things about British life. So you'll be better prepared and hopefully inspired when you are ready to visit us, or indeed find out more about British culture. Let's start with a quiz and see how much you know already. We have 5 statements about the way of life in the UK, but are they true or false? Okay, are you ready? Let's have a look at those 5 statements. Okay, so remember, we're deciding if these statements are true or false. Number 1, usually it's only young single people who go to pubs. What do we think? Is that correct? True or false? 2, a British businessman wouldn't be seen dead without a tie. What do you think? True or false? Number 3, British people can feel embarrassed if you give them a compliment. Do you think that's going to be true or false? Number 4, British people have always had a high opinion of their food. True or false? And finally, number 5, British people might look down on you, have a negative opinion of you, if you drive a gold-plated Rolls-Royce. Okay, so what do you think, true or false? Okay, I'm going to reveal them all now and see how you did. How many did you get correct? Okay, so number 1, usually it's only young single people who go to pubs. It's false. Okay, I'm going to be talking about all of these in more detail later on. Number 2, a British businessman wouldn't be seen dead without a tie. It is also false. Okay, things are changing. Number 3, British people can feel embarrassed if you give them a compliment. That is true, unfortunately, and we're going to be talking about the many ways which British people can feel embarrassed or awkward in different situations. Number 4, British people have always had a high opinion of their food. Maybe not surprisingly, this is false. We haven't always had a high opinion of our food, and I'm going to be talking more about our food culture later. And finally, number 5, British people might look down on you if you drive a gold-plated Rolls Royce. That is also true, okay? We have a strange attitude to material objects. It's all to do with our class system. And again, we'll be talking about that in a second. Now, of course, not all British people are the same, and people act differently in different situations. Nevertheless, it is true to say there are some social conventions and habits in the UK that are common enough to be useful to know about in advance. So that's what we're going to be talking about. We've got 10 points for you, and I'm going to start with one of the most confusing. So number 10 is the way we speak. Now, it won't come as a surprise to you if you're familiar with anything about British culture, if you've been to the school or have been following these live streams, that British people are quite indirect in many ways, and in our speaking as well. We don't like to tell people what to do openly, directly. Okay, we feel that might lead to conflict, and often we feel it's just unnecessary. People should understand what they need to do. So instead, we often make a comment about a situation in the expectation that the other person will take this comment and from it understand what we want them to do. We call this reading between the lines. You might know that expression. I think it happens in other cultures too, but in the UK it happens a lot, especially if we're talking to somebody we don't know very well or we want to be extra polite. So for example, if somebody walks into a room and the windows are wide open, they might go, "Oh, it's a bit cold in here." Obviously, it probably is a bit cold in here, but the secret message, reading between the lines message is, can you shut the window? Because it's really cold in here. So could you shut the window? Or do you mind if I shut the window? Okay. So they're expecting some kind of response. Oh, would you like me to close the window? Or, oh, shut the window if you want to. Okay. Another example could be very often in a pub or in a restaurant, somebody will come up to you and say, oh, the bar closes or the kitchen closes in 5 minutes. Okay. This obviously has 2 levels. It's got the literal level, the bar will close in 5 minutes, but also the hidden message is, so please leave. Please drink up and we want to go home. So if you have to order your last drinks, but please hurry up because we're closing. Okay, so that's got another sort of hidden message. Please leave. In an office situation or in a home situation, you might be sitting at your desk and somebody will say to you, the phone is ringing. The phone is ringing. Okay, I think this is an obvious one. They're not just pointing out, oh, look, your phone's ringing. That's interesting, isn't it? They imply strongly, so answer it. So pick it up and talk to the person on the other end. Okay, so the phone is ringing, please answer it. Okay, or even in a more direct way, you might have lots of noise in a library or in a school, and somebody might turn and say to you, excuse me, I'm trying to study. I'm trying to study. And obviously it means be quiet. Okay, be quiet. I want to study, so stop making such a lot of noise. Okay, so what to do? Okay, if somebody makes a comment like this, it's good to be aware there could be a hidden meaning. Maybe there isn't, but maybe there is. So next time somebody walks into a room and comments on the temperature, think maybe I should ask them if they want me to open or close the window. Okay, moving on to the next point, which is the lack of clarity in social convention, okay, in our habits, our behaviour. Indirectness again, okay, as I said, it's all over British culture, not only in our language, but in our other habits too. When we meet someone, there is no clear social rule in the UK about how to greet them. So I'm very jealous of, for example, my French students, okay? my French students tell me that if they're in the south of France, it's very clear, 3 kisses. In the north of France, 2 kisses. Okay? And a handshake is always appropriate. So you can always do these things. So they seem, I don't know, maybe you'll disagree with them, but they seem to me to be very clear. If you're here, you do this. If you're here, you do that. Okay, we understand. Okay. In the UK, I can't give such clear advice. Okay. All I can say is really, if you're meeting somebody for the first time, it is a bit clearer. You can shake their hand and just say, nice to meet you. That's clear. But when you meet people you know, either a friend or a colleague, something like that, the picture gets more complicated. For some British people follow our French neighbours with 2 kisses. Some prefer just 1 kiss. Other British people don't like kissing. They think it's too French, and they prefer traditional handshake for friends. Others sort of go in the middle and they compromise and go for a quick hug or pat on the shoulder or something. And other people find the whole thing just too confusing. They don't know whether to kiss or to hug or to handshake, and they just get really embarrassed by the whole thing and prefer to just stand their distance and maybe just give a little white wave, like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. Yeah, or nice to see you. Nobody knows what to do in the UK. Similarly, we don't know what to do if somebody invites us for a meal or a drink. Again, I think in other cultures, this is clearer. If they invite you, they pay. Okay? This is not the case in the UK. We don't know that for certain. The person who invites you may intend to pay, or they may not. Maybe they just want to spend time with you. And generally, British people, typically British people, feel too embarrassed to ask. Okay? So at the end of the meal, we both take out our credit cards and then we find out. It's like, oh, I'm paying. Oh, no, sorry, I thought I'd like to pay. Okay, we never know. Okay, if somebody does intend to pay for a meal, at this point, at the end of the meal, they will make it clear, and they can use a phrase like, for example, it's on me, or it's my treat. Okay, and I should say clearly now, no offense will be intended or should be taken if someone offers to pay and you've invited them. That's completely normal in British culture. Indeed, it's always kind of polite, okay, to offer to pay, even if you've invited them, okay? So please don't be offended if they do. Or even some British people insist on paying for themselves. And again, it's perfectly fine in British culture. It's okay. However, I have some good news for you. And that is, in the pub situation, it's a lot clearer. Okay, of course, the pubs, we have established rules for pubs. Okay, the custom is when you go to the pub with your friends, 1 person or even up to 6 people, 7 people, we buy rounds. Okay, this is when 1 person buys drinks for everybody in the group, and then the next time another person buys drinks for everybody in the group. Okay. I think this is simply because it's quite disruptive for every time you want to drink to go to the bar, because you're going to the bar quite a lot. It'll make the bar really busy and it interrupts your conversations to go there all the time. So it saves time if 1 person buys drinks for everybody. Okay. If you want to buy a round for somebody, you can say, it's my round, which means it's my turn. What are you having? Okay, so I might say to Olga, it's my round, what are you having? She'll say a gin tonic. I'll say to Pfizer, what are you having? Glass of Chardonnay. Okay. Also, if you're feeling peckish, you can also get some crisps when it's your round, which are a very popular snack, always available at any British pub. We've got some crisps, there we go. Or if the kitchen is open, very nice, some British chips. Bear in mind the chips are the hot ones, you see, that you have with fish there, okay? And this is a good snack because obviously everybody can share it at the same time, some mayonnaise or some ketchup, okay? If you're feeling a bit adventurous and want to try some typically British pub food, I recommend some things like a Scotch egg. That's one of my favourite things, okay? Delicious, okay, especially a homemade Scotch egg, be yummy. or an all-time British pub favourite, pork scratchings, okay, which is the fat of a pig deep fried, okay. Not good if you're on a diet, but very delicious. Okay, so we go on to number 8. Pubs are for everyone, okay. So we were just talking about pubs then, typical food you eat in pubs. And one thing that visitors find surprising is that you often find families, mums and babies and work colleagues, everybody goes to the pub, okay? It's not just young people, it's not just men of a certain age, it's for everybody. And often in my local pub, I see whole families sitting there, from a small baby in a high chair to great granddad in the corner chatting to his granddaughter. You have all ages there, okay? The name pub comes from public house, okay? Public house literally means the house, the building, which is for everybody, which is for the general public. And so it was a community space for neighborhoods, for villages. And in the past, they had things like, they were used as a legal place, they were used as a medical place, they were just a place where all the community could get together. And still now, you can see they often have board games or games like bowls or skittles. They have books to read. So it's just a place for, you can go, you can relax, you can have a drink of beer or a drink of Coca-Cola, whatever you want. And basically spend some time there. People often like to chat to you, to maybe share a joke, who have a sense of humour. And often they publicise how friendly they are and what a good sense of humour they have in this pub by putting boards outside, okay, to encourage people to come into their pub and to spend some time there with them. Like you would do, invite somebody inside a family, okay? I think we've got a picture of some of these boards now. Yes, here we are. I quite like some of these jokes, okay? So wanted customers, no previous experience needed, as full training will be given. Please apply within, okay? So it's advertising the job of being a customer coming in, okay? Or the Fleming Arms has fat people are harder to kidnap. Stay safe, eat lots here. So that's the thing, that's my kind of pub. Go in, eat lots of food, you'll be safer, okay? So all show we've got a sense of humour. Come in, have a good time, spend some time with us, okay? So what pubs to go to? There are such a wide range of choices, but near the school, we've got a couple we'd definitely recommend. The first one we'd recommend with excellent food, maybe you can try their Scotch egg or some other delicious food they've got here, is the Havelock Tavern. The Havelock Tavern is only a 10-minute walk from the school and definitely worth a visit. I would say it's like a typical London pub, but it's got extra nice pub food. Although pub food is generally okay. The other pub, which is famous for its flowers, so particularly in summer when you come to visit, you'll see beautiful flower displays everywhere, is the Churchill Arms. And this is also very close to the school, in the opposite direction near Notting Hill. Okay, as you can see, it's absolutely beautiful in summer and lots of students like to stand outside and have their photograph taken. Yes. So both of them are definitely well worth a visit. Okay, next we come to point number 7. When you go to the pub, when you come to the school, what to wear, okay? What is the dress code in the UK, okay? I say this because lots of people come to London expecting the typical British gentleman or the typical British businessman to look something like this, okay? And maybe that was true 100 years ago, maybe, for some people, okay? But not so much now. A £1 million fashion industry has grown up around these images, with British companies selling traditional attire like these kind of clothes, and Savile Row and Jermyn Street in London's Mayfair still have lots of old tailor shops. So if you would like to splash out and buy yourself a beautiful 3-piece suit, feel free, you can do that. However, as anyone who's been to London can tell you, disappointingly, maybe, not many people still dress like that for work, obviously. most men go for the shirt and jacket combo, and in their desk at work have a tie they can put on in emergencies. So in case there's a client meeting or some other reason to look extra smart. And the higher you rise in your company, the more authority you have and less need to impress. So the more casually you can dress, to almost show your status by saying, like, I don't need to dress smartly. I'm the boss. So the guy in flip-flops and shorts could well be the boss. Of course, it does depend on the industry and the company culture. So startups and media and tech firms, things like that, they usually dress more casually. Banking, law, usually slightly more formally. But typically, as I said, just a shirt and jacket. So do you recognize any or either of these two gentlemen? They're quite famous business leaders in the UK. Does anybody recognize who they are? Both in a jacket and shirt, but still the CEOs of their companies. Any idea who they are? No? Well, the man on the left is Richard Branson, and the man on the right is James Dyson. James Dyson, you might know him from the vacuum cleaners. He's now got hair dryers, he's got air conditioning systems, all sorts of things, but he's quite a famous inventor, businessman in the UK. Richard Branson is leader of the Virgin Group. Okay, so Virgin Air, Virgin Coke, Virgin Trains, Virgin do everything, I think, Virgin. So yes, and both of them favour casual dress. Indeed, if you work for Richard Branson and you are wearing a tie, he will come and cut the tie off with scissors. He said that in an interview because he hates ties so much. Okay, he sees them as restrictive. And I think ties represent the old-fashioned way of doing things, which is probably why he hates them, because he tries to be a modern sort of business leader. And why, if you go for tea at the Ritz, if you want to go and have afternoon tea at the Ritz Hotel, or if you're into cricket, you want to go to the Lord's Cricket Ground in London, you have to wear a tie. Or indeed Wimbledon, if you go to the Wimbledon, some royal boxers in Wimbledon, you have to wear a tie. So for very formal occasions, a tie is required to almost show that it's a very formal occasion. But in general, we don't bother. So if you're worried about what is the right thing to wear in the UK, do some research before, obviously, to see if the company or the venue, Wimbledon, has a dress code. Otherwise, just wear what you want. Okay, we're quite free, quite relaxed. And I think the basic principles of British culture are seen in what we wear, which is don't show off or obviously draw attention to yourself unless it's appropriate. And don't take it too seriously. Keep a sense of humour, as we do in most things. And if you go to a wedding as a guest, don't wear white. That's one rule I can tell you. Okay, so we go into number 6, compliments. Bearing in mind what I just said about the cultural taboo of showing off, British people can be very reluctant to accept compliments directly, okay? So they feel self-conscious if you've noticed what they wear almost, and they can make a self-deprecating comment, that is like making fun of themselves, to emphasize the casualness of what they're wearing and their modesty. So for example, if somebody says, I love your dress, the typical British response is, this old thing? Really? Oh no, I've had it for years. I bought it in Primark years ago. This doesn't mean they don't appreciate your compliments. Okay, this is just how a British person responds. And in fact, they might secretly love the fact that you noticed and liked what they were wearing. If they're very shy, they might feel a little bit embarrassed, but still you're being kind and they'll like that. Either way, you can just say, well, it's lovely. And you will have made a British person a little bit happier and more confident. But as I said, typically we're quite socially awkward. So we have this sort of, oh no, I can't possibly say that I think I look nice. Okay, we don't often have that social confidence. As you can see from this cartoon I found from a psychology website. Here we have two ladies together having a drink, and they have a little, yours is nicer. So I like your top, yours is nicer. It would look better on you. only if I had your figure. As I said, this is just typical. So like, I can't accept a compliment. I just give it back to you. You are nicer than me. You are better than me. Okay. This is quite typically British. Okay. We see it as bonding, friendly, and modest. This is how we do things. Okay. Now we move on to number 5, home and garden. Okay. Everyone knows that a British person's home is their castle. But lots of British people take just as much pride in their gardens. Gardening is one of the most popular leisure activities in the UK. It's like one of the #1 hobbies, above football. And 2/3 of British people visit a garden centre each year. 2/3, that's 2 in 3, making them a £25 billion industry. Okay, so it's a huge thing, both in terms of how we spend our time, what we're interested in, and in business. If you don't have your own garden to lavish time and money on, you can visit someone else's. Every May, there is a Visit a Garden scheme with over 3,000 private gardens open to the public to visit and raise money for charity. This year, you can do it virtually. So if you follow this web link, you can look around other people's gardens virtually, okay, and make a donation if you wish. It could be very interesting to see typical English gardens of typical British people. If you want to go to a more formal public garden, you can go to Kew Garden in London. It's definitely worth a visit. Beautiful flowers, beautiful displays. You can learn a lot about the science of horticulture and have a lovely picnic by the river. Lots of tourists go to Hyde Park. It's very famous. But in my opinion, Regent's Park, a bit further north of Oxford Street, is much nicer and less crowded. And the Queen Mary Rose Garden is fantastic in the summer. Maybe you can even take some inspiration home for your own garden. My favourite places in gardens are what we call herbaceous borders. Now, herbaceous borders is where we create the English look, okay, which is the natural look, okay? So it looks like exactly like the picture. It looks almost like a natural, wild meadow or something like that. Obviously, it's not. It takes a lot of time and money and care to make it look like that. But it contrasts with what was before, which was the French or Italianate style, which was very formal, like you see in Versailles, for example. Like the hedges made into beautiful shapes and clipped, and it's very controlled and very geometric and very organized. The English style is a bit more relaxed and natural and wild, and that's what I like in the gardens. And Kew has some beautiful examples of herbaceous borders. In the countryside, they don't only grow flowers, they grow vegetables as well, like I think they do all around the world, obviously. And they have lots of competitions to show off their skill, which people take very seriously. I mean, very seriously. As we can see here, people grow very big vegetables to win prizes. And they spend a lot of their time making sure everything is just right to stand the best chance of winning this competition. It's not only individuals. Villages in the UK compete to win the best kept village competition each year by maintaining beautiful communal flower beds and parks and encouraging residents to keep their gardens beautiful. So they have a competition around the country and to see which village maintains itself the best, okay? And then people that come to visit the village will admire how beautifully they keep their lawns and their trees and their hedges, etc., etc. So it's something we take a lot of pride in, the way our gardens look, the way our public spaces look. Okay, this leads on to my next point, which is number 4, the rural dream. So life in the countryside. And as I was explaining about the best kept village competition, the biggest vegetable competition, there's a lot of community spirit in the countryside and lots of different activities. So maybe it's no wonder that it's common for British people to dream of moving to the countryside the dream of retiring to the countryside, being able to work in the countryside, is really strong. Maybe it's because of early industrialization. The UK was one of the first countries in the world to industrialize, and modern economic factors mean that roughly about 83–84% of English people live in urban areas. Okay, so it's a huge proportion of our population. So for historic and for current reasons, we have a quite romantic view of country life, of agricultural life. We could dream of living in the countryside where everything is beautiful and peaceful and perfect, and like Cinderella, birds feed from your hand. Like a very maybe unrealistic view of country life. I mean, even 200 years ago, English poets were praising the scenery and the moral values of the countryside, and city workers started visiting local beauty spots in the countryside in their time off. That's how the tourist industry started in the UK. About 100 years ago, this passion was formalized and national parks were created. And the right to roam, that is to walk freely, was enshrined in law. Now in the UK, there are over 240,000, that's almost 250,000 kilometers of footpaths. That is a lot of footpaths, okay, through private land and national parks. And many clubs like the Ramblers organise walks in the countryside at the weekend. And people like myself go for walks in the countryside at the weekend or on a holiday. We love going there, walking these public footpaths, which are clearly signed, so you know you're allowed to walk this direction. Is a lovely way to spend our time. City people, therefore, dream of moving to the countryside, having a more relaxed lifestyle, you know, maybe a big garden, some chickens and some free-range eggs at the back, maybe some sheep, you know, some little lambs that would be beautiful for the children to look after, a dog that they could go on weekend walks in the beautiful fields around their house, and maybe have lunch in a pub garden. So this is what we would like to do in our lives. So when you come to the UK, please don't just stay in London or another big city. Do as the locals do and visit the countryside, okay? So I've got some suggestions for popular places to visit. Okay, so the first one you might know from the TV show Midsummer Murders, okay? This is the area called the Cotswolds, which is sort of around Oxford, if you know that area, sort of the central part of England. To get there, you could take a train to Cheltenham, and then I would recommend you hire a car because, as you can see from here, it's very, very pretty villages. We call them chocolate box villages. They look perfect, don't they? Coming after Midsummer Murders or something. But the public transport, not good. So if you can, hire a car, drive around this area, or there might be an organised tour to have a look around. So that's the Cotswolds. The second place I'd recommend to you, a bit more accessible if you're in London, is the Chilterns, which is an area to the west of London, countryside, some hills, some beautiful hill landscape. And this is accessible on the underground. So you can go right to the end of the Metropolitan line, which is dark purple line, to a place called Chesham, and get off the underground. And it's a small town, and it's very easy to walk out immediately from this town into the beautiful countryside, go for a nice walk, hopefully in the sunshine, have a pub lunch and experience a typical weekend of a British person. My last option to you is Cambridge. Cambridge is very easily accessible by train, and a very interesting town to look around in its own right. But when there, you can easily hire a bicycle and cycle through the beautiful meadows of the river to a little village called Grantchester, which is again a beautiful, beautiful place to visit and has very good tea rooms and very good cake. So I strongly recommend that. And then, of course, you can return to Cambridge and get the train home. So it's a beautiful day trip out of London. Okay, now, while talking of tea takes me on to food. Okay, I think everybody's favourite topic. And my point number 3, that in Britain, we have both the best and the worst food in the world. What an achievement, Britain. Well done us. Okay. Now, why do I say the worst food? Okay, I think this is connected to what I said before about Britain being one of the first countries to industrialize. Okay, people moved away from the countryside areas, started to work in the cities. There was harder to find fresh food. They ate more processed food. And I think we lost a bit of that connection to the countryside, to nature and to home cooking. So we just ate what was available in cities, which really wasn't very good quality. And we lost that connection to the land, to fresh vegetables, etc. And it's still true today that sometimes you find that convenience and cheapness is prioritized over quality, in my view. However, thank goodness, for the last 30 years, maybe slightly longer, London and the UK has become a more international place, and people have become a lot more interested in food from around the world. Indian people have come and shared their delicious cuisine, Chinese people, people from Bangladesh, people from all over the world. And they've set up lots of restaurants, and this has reignited our love of food and our appreciation of good food. People have come more interested in our produce, our own produce. Even French people, very proud of their own cuisine, but have shown interest in British produce and our traditional dishes. And we're discovering that our produce is actually quite good itself. And our food, if made well, can also be delicious. For example, Cornish pasties. You might know Cornish pasties. Delicious little pies of food, pies themselves, cakes, many, many different kinds of meat and vegetables. Lots of different British food for you to try. And I would say one of the best places is just your local British pub, maybe the Havelock Tavern if you come and visit the school. Olga, Faiza, what kind of food do you like from the UK?
So I would say I really love the pies. So you famous, and then I do have a sweet tooth. So one of my favorite desserts is sticky toffee pudding.
Oh, I love sticky toffee pudding. Yeah, good choice, good choice. And Olga, what do you like?
Okay, you're muted.
I have to say that I like food in general, so all kinds of food, but I would recommend for some adventurous souls some seaside town food. For example, jellied eels, which they're also famous for anybody who is in the east of London, and also whelks, and of course fish and chips.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So whelks are kind of seafood, yes? Small
yes,
seafood.
That's right. Yeah, it's a shellfish.
Yeah. Very, very, very traditional East End food. I've never tried them myself, but I've been told they're delicious. Maybe I have to try them. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, now, number 2. This is moving on to a bit what I said before about British class. The more money you have, the less you show. Now, the British class system is world famous, or infamous, maybe, and many books have been written on it. And it's far too complicated to go into detail here. But one observation I will make, because it's sometimes confusing to outsiders, is to material possessions. Having lots of obviously expensive possessions is what poor people do. The idea is that if you are truly upper class, it's clear from your accent, from your connections, the people you know, and your behaviour. So there's no need to show your high status in material objects. Designer clothes and Bentleys are for people who are either passionate about fashion and cars, or people who don't have an upper class background and so need to show off their status in other ways. So, for example, a footballer buying a Lamborghini to show off status that otherwise you don't have. The positive side of this, of course, is that you could be high status in British society and not have any expensive things at all. So there's a rumour that the Queen herself is fairly careful with her money and refuses to use her beautiful fireplaces in the palace because the wood fuel for these beautiful fireplaces is too expensive. So she uses cheaper electric heaters instead. And when she gets a beautiful gift from another statesman, she very carefully unwraps them so she can keep the wrapping paper and use it again later. True British class. Okay, finally, we come to number one. My favourite thing of all, amateurism. Okay, we're rubbish. I'm kidding, we're not rubbish. What I mean is we're a nation of keen amateurs. We don't have to be trained in something or believe we could be any good at it to give it a shot. Art, sports, science, it doesn't matter if we're rubbish at it. We're just willing to give it a go. Maybe we'll be good at it. Maybe we'll succeed. Maybe not. But we'll have a good time trying. So many British people in their free time are members of football teams, photography clubs, theatre groups, art classes, choirs, because they enjoy the activity and are interested in meeting other people with the same hobby. And you never know. Lots of British inventors are amateurs. For example, according to Bryson's book Home, the number of vicars, that's people working for the church, who made scientific discoveries in the 19th century is 10 times that of professional scientists. For example, Reverend George Garrett invented the submarine. Reverend William Greenwell invented modern archaeology. And Reverend John Mitchell helped to discover the planet Uranus. So enjoy yourself, give your hobbies a go, and who knows where it will lead. Faiza and Olga, what part of British life do you find most interesting?
Thank you very much, Emma, and for this fantastic, amazing live stream with so many interesting facts about and tips about British life. So, yeah, for me, I'll keep it short because of simply the time. But I really enjoy British curiosity for new things and for new ideas, and I really appreciate British literature and, of course, humor. And that's also a very good question to our viewers who visit the UK or maybe planning to visit the UK in the near future. What part of British life do you find most interesting? Share with us in the live chat next to the video. And over to you, Faiza.
So I think I'll share, because I've had two types of British experiences. So when I first lived here for 5 years, I was a student. And one of the things I found quite interesting was the education system. So I had studied in a British school, but for example, being at university, there's a lot of critical thinking, there's a lot of discussion and discourse, which is, I think, different from other parts of the world. There's a lot of kind of reading and then debate and discussion with your professors and challenging of ideas. And quite a lot of it is essay-based as well. I know in North America, for example, it might be more test-based. In other cultures as well, there's more about, you're given content and you memorize it and you kind of learn in that way. So that was very different, that kind of looking at information and then deciding what you thought about it, which I think, when you're at a university age, you're just like, am I qualified? And it's just like, yeah, anybody is. If you have a thought, if you have an idea, you're more than welcome to share it. On the fun side of the student experience, there is very much a very lively and active going out and drinking culture in the UK. One of the things I also discovered was a love of fancy dress. So there were many times in university that we would have events, whether they were like evenings or parties or balls, depending on the type of university you went to, and you would get dressed up in different themes, or you get very dressed up in formal events and things like that. When I moved to Canada, I had a lot of people ask me, why do you have all these random props and feather boas and top hats? And I said, well, I needed them for university. So
theatre, I think it's theatre tradition, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And then when I came back to the UK 6 years ago, it was for work. So also in terms of the work culture, I've certainly observed what you were saying, Emma, about the different communication style. and that being applied in a work context, and learning to read between the lines or understanding that people might communicate things in a different way was very interesting. I'd also say that I've discovered that there are certain cultural events that just take over. So everybody starts talking about that, even in the social work side. So for example, when it's the Six Nations, or when it's Wimbledon time, or when it's a Cricket World Cup or the Ashes, it's just everybody around you is speaking about it, which is quite exciting, because in other parts of the world, they might not seem like such big events.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, likewise, things like the Great British Bake Off is something that people talk about, Red Nose Day. So yeah, you just have to be there. I found, for example, with the Bake Off, you just have to be careful of being like, did you see the episode or did you not? Because you can't spoil it for somebody if they haven't.
Yeah, very important.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Faiza. And Emma and Faiza, summer is coming, which is great. So can you share a few tips on how to properly enjoy summer in London and the UK?
Sure. Shall I go first?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I would say, like, sort of, with summer comes longer evenings. It's light for longer. So I think it's a really good opportunity to take advantage of the outdoor spaces in London. So you can get a picnic, you can sit in the park and just relax. As I said, Regent's Park is one of my personal favourites, or Richmond Park, which is a bit further sort of southwest of London. And you can go with a book and just relax, or you can go with your bike and just some exercise and spend some lovely time there. Very photogenic places as well, and you don't have to spend any money. Just sort of buy some food and enjoy it there. Maybe even a Scotch egg. That's my recommendation.
Yeah, and I'd also agree with that. Those are options that are still available in these times that we are in. And then there are also a lot of the cultural things you can do here in London that are slowly starting to open up. And there are many ways in which you can kind of, for example, go to the museums, which again are also really free. That's one of my most favorite things about specifically being in London, the fact that you can go into any museum and it's free. And so if you wanted to, you could sit in front of a Monet just because you can. Or you could go to the British Museum and discover art, like different cultures, or you could go to the V&A and learn about different times and periods and how people lived. And they've opened it up in such a wonderful way, despite the circumstances, of giving people that time and that freedom to visit with less people around, which is also a lovely benefit. So yes, there's lots to do inside, outside, and it's a very nice place to be in the summer when the weather's great.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's great. And we have quite a few. Sorry, Emma, you were going to.
Let's make a last comment, which is I think London is quite a walkable city. It's quite not to get public transport. You can if you want to, but it's nice to walk around. And there are lots of books and websites that can help you, like, to choose different places to walk around. And obviously in the summer, when it's more light, when the weather's better, it's a good opportunity to do that.
That's great. Yeah. And actually, I can mention that one of my favorite books is Secret London Walks. So there are actually three books that concentrate on different areas of London. So you can actually learn more about history and really find some interesting places to visit. Actually, we have quite a few comments from our viewers. So Alice just mentioned I visited the UK once. So Alice, what was your experience like? What did you like? Also, we have other comments from Tanya Gronendahl, talking about her visiting London, but also countryside. So yes, very relevant to what you mentioned, Emma, earlier in the live stream.
I think I read somewhere we've got hundreds of volunteer-run steam train networks. I mean, quite short lines, but it's some people in the UK love steam trains. So yeah, it's good. And you can ride, it's really fun, yeah.
And then we have a comment from Federico Mazzoni, who visited London 3 times. That's you must know London really well by now, Federico, and who loves English culture. And then Federico also commented on indirect communication earlier. Just what you mentioned, Emma, that sometimes it could mean all kinds of things. And we also have a comment from Lara Vicchiato, who's saying that she's looking forward to going to London School of English to improve her English. Fantastic, Lara. We hope to see you soon.
Yeah,
and that kind of brings me to a question for Faiza, because we did talk a little bit about our English language courses at the beginning of the live stream, and then we also provide a whole range of courses from general English to business English, and we did talk about some intercultural aspects of business life in Britain as well. So can you tell us a little bit more in terms of what people can learn, not only in terms of language courses, but also in terms of intercultural aspects when studying with us?
Definitely. So what we like to focus on in terms of our training is to give people the tools and the ability to learn the language, but also to apply it practically. And a large part of that, for example, when we're looking at our business courses, is for people to understand the cultural context. So that a lot of the ideas that Emma mentioned about, for example, people's appearance, the indirect communication style, understanding, the different hierarchies that might exist, or whether things are formal or informal. Those are all wrapped into how we deliver our training, so that you're able to apply it in the right context. Similarly, even some of the other things we spoke about the food or the pub culture or the gardens, those are all concepts as well that help with the social side. If you're a business person, if you're having to do those networking conversations, you're making small talk, it gives you a more whole picture of what culture is like and business culture is like in the UK. So we have a variety of business courses that I think you have ready for me, Olga, and it all just depends on what you need and what you're looking for, and how much time you also have. So our business and professional English 25 plus course is there for seasoned professionals who've had a few years of experience under their belt. That's delivered face-to-face or virtually, and those are intensive courses. So it's ideal, for example, if you want to set aside a bit of time to study and to focus on your business and professional English. The face-to-face courses can be any 3 hours a day. They can be 6 hours a day. The virtual courses are 3 hours a day. We've launched a newer course, our Business English Express course, and that's actually designed for people who maybe want to improve their language while they're still working and going about their usual schedule, but they want to stay connected. They want to check in and still be able to improve their language. So that one is designed as an online option for 2 evenings a week for 90 minutes. So you get 3 hours of training per week. And they're just really great for you to have something like a short bite-sized course, and you can take that for a week or you can take it for several weeks. We also specialize in English for specific purposes. So any sector you can name, we've done training on it, I'm sure. So things, for example, that are really popular for us are legal English courses. We've also delivered training for banking and finance. We've done a lot of training also around things in the health and pharmaceutical sector. We've done things in supply chain, insurance, all kinds of sectors. I'd also say that we have specialization in academic courses as well. So we've often worked with clients who are preparing for IELTS exams, or they're preparing for university and whatnot. And then you also saw the English for HR over there. So we have a lot of things. And I think that's one of the advantages of having been around for quite for over 100 years. There's pretty much nothing we haven't taught,
Yeah,
which makes for
yeah.
interesting stories as well.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, general English as well.
Yep.
Yeah, and you can find more information by visiting our site, londonschool.com. But we also can be contactable via phone on the site, or by this email address that you can see on screen as well. Emma, would you like to add anything else to what Faiza just said?
No, I would just say I hope that before too long that you can come and visit London and you explore and share your own experience of our culture and of your own culture. It's always interesting to share experiences and insights into different ways of doing things. So yes, we look forward to seeing you hopefully before too long.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. And we've got another comment from Tanya Gronendahl, who is saying it was a very relaxing way to end a very busy day. I hope this was a productive day, Tanya, and you have a fantastic evening. And
Thank you.
We would like to say, just to echo what Emma and Faiza just said, that we hope to see you all soon. Hopefully when, if you're already in London, you can actually come and study face-to-face in our center in Holland Park already now. But if you are planning to visit us from other countries, then we hope that the relaxation of the travel rules would make it possible soon. And we hope to see you meanwhile online as well.
Yes.
And on our YouTube channel.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, so have a wonderful rest of the day wherever you are, and we'll see you soon. And keep safe, and keep well, and keep learning English. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.